President Joe Biden will give his first State of the Union address tonight, and a lot of the focus is expected to center around the Russian invasion of Ukraine and how the United States and the rest of the world, for that matter, is responding. Meanwhile, there have been peace talks between the Russians and Ukraine, but the Russian army continues its offensive, moving into the capital city of Kyiv. Joining us this morning to talk more about the president's speech and the situation in Ukraine is Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Congressman, we appreciate your time this morning. Let's start first in Ukraine. There has been one day of talks. How much hope do you have for a diplomatic solution, or that this crisis will end quickly?
Quickly, I am not hopeful. I think that we are in for a protracted conflict here. The United States and our NATO allies have imposed crippling financial and technological sanctions on Russia, and their economy is reeling. They're taking several body blows, but right now we need to punch Putin squarely in the nose, and that means energy sanctions. I hope that President Biden announces tonight in the State of the Union that we, in consultation with OPEC and the European Union, are going to levy sanctions on Russian coal, oil, and gas. That's going to be a body blow and rock the foundation of the Kremlin regime. It is going to turbocharge our transition to a clean energy economy, and most importantly, it's going to demonstrate the free world's commitment to the Ukrainian cause.
The big worry, with Vladimir Putin, it's what he might do next. Now, those who have studied him over the years say something seems off with him right now, and he has put nuclear forces there on high alert. Do you think he might actually use them?
I'm not going to step inside Vladimir Putin's mind. Based on our briefings over the last several days, we are not on the precipice of nuclear war. I don't want my constituents or Bay Staters to feel like we are living under the cloud of an imminent nuclear threat. We are not. Of course, the intelligence community and our defense community takes very seriously any escalation in nuclear posture by any power throughout the world. Our focus right now needs to be on continuing to arm the Ukrainians and on isolating and undermining the Russian economy, because Vladimir Putin needs to feel the full freight of Western wrath over this unprovoked, unjust assault on a sovereign democracy.
You mentioned arming the Ukrainians, and they've done a remarkable job resisting up to this point, but the fear is they will be overwhelmed at some point. Do you see any situation where there could be American troops with NATO on the ground in Ukraine?
The president has been clear that the United States is going to defend every inch of NATO territory. Ukraine is not part of NATO. There is no plan to have American forces engage in direct conflict with Russian troops in Ukraine. I think that's a wise course of action that would unwisely escalate the conflict and risk a wider war. But what we can do is provide Ukrainian insurgents and Ukrainian troops with the anti-tank, anti-air, and small arms munitions that they need to wage a successful defense of both their cities and, if necessary, to transition into an insurgency.
You have the military background, Congressman. What do you feel when you see those images that we've seen, the heartbreaking images coming out of Ukraine, with not only the obvious damage, but what it's done to the population there, and kids being broken up with their families, kids being killed, and just the horror we've seen from all this?
My great-grandparents fled Ukraine during the Russian pogroms before World War I, and I've been thinking of that family story as I look at those images of the more than 500,000 refugees fleeing across Ukraine's western borders. It's a tragedy. This is a country that was moving towards rule of law, towards a flourishing economy, towards self-determination, and allowing their citizens to fully realize their ambitions. And Vladimir Putin, out of a sense of paranoia and revanchism, is setting that country back, and he must be punished for it. He must be held to account for it. The whole free world needs to stand with Ukraine, and we here in Congress are.
And quickly, we're short on time, but what do you hope to hear from the president in the State of the Union tonight?
In addition to the energy sanctions on Russia, domestically, I'm hoping to hear that we are putting COVID behind us and a strong economy ahead of us. We have made significant strides in the first 12 months of the president's term. Infrastructure bill, the American Rescue Plan have gotten kids back into school, have reopened the economy, have boosted the vaccination rate to a point where, now that Omicron is subsiding, we can go back to normal. And we need to hear that from the president. And we also need to hear that we're going to be tamping down inflation at the same rate that we're creating jobs. Job creation has been a huge success, but inflation has been pinching into those wage gains, and we've got to have a bipartisan plan that we can put into action for how we are going to control costs for American families.
You'll be able to see the president's State of the Union address tonight at 9 here on Boston 25. Congressman Jake Auchincloss, thanks for taking time to join us this morning. We do appreciate it.
Good to be on.